welcome to the Film Ireland podcast. I'm Gemma Creagh and I'm chatting with Seán Breathnach, the director of Foscadh. Thank you so much for chatting with us.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me on.
I'm delighted. So you have a beautiful, tense, sad, happy coming of age drama, but I think our protagonist is a little bit older. Can you give us a little bit about the story, just in case anyone hasn't seen it?
Sure. Well, it's based on Donal Ryan's The Thing About December, except in our adaptation, we moved the story from rural Tipperary to Conamara, where I grew up, because the film is as Gaeilge. I think you described it well there. A delayed coming of age story. There are a lot of people like our main character, John Cunliffe, where I'm from anyway. It's kind of a rural thing perhaps, but these men, and they're typically men, who have led a really cosseted, sheltered life and basically lived with their parents all their lives. And that might be fine to a certain extent for a while, but the cycle of life goes on, and parents pass on, and men like John in their 30s and find that they've had no relationships, don't know how to communicate all that well, don't know how to take care of themselves. And this is a story of John, an introvert like John.
Like a very powerful performance as well. It's very you do a great job as a director in wordlessly getting, like, there's so much kind of emotion and very little dialogue. Even the dialogue isn't Irish, but you can nearly watch it and know what's happening if there were no subtitles. So just tell me a little bit about the writing. I'll go in order. I heard there was 15 drafts of the script.
There were 15 drafts of the script. Yeah.
A lot of drafts.
A lot of drafts. And that was quite the experience. But not only did we write drafts, we kind of workshopped a lot of the scenes. So subsequent drafts were needed after workshopping the scenes. So I think by draft 7 or 8, we had cast the film. And fair play to Paddy Hayes, our producer, he set aside some time whereby we could rehearse and workshop the scenes. And I love the Mike Leigh approach, whereby you can kind of let the actors take ownership of their histories and their stories, and they interrogate their characters. And with that spirit in mind, we kind of opened up a few of the scenes and created new scenes basically in these workshops, which I filmed. And then I could rewrite another draft based on what we found in the rehearsals. So that added to the 15 drafts, I guess.
Excellent. So tell me, it started off, it's an adaptation, right? So would you be consulting Donal Ryan when you're doing it? Did you just guys clear the rights and said, we're going to do our own version of this story?
Yeah, somewhere in between, maybe. We had the rights, and of course, Donal Ryan's novel is over 200 pages long, and we knew we wanted to bring the film in about 90 minutes or so. So certain things had to go, and it's such an internal novel. It's all of John's thoughts, and that's a little more difficult to film. So we diverged a little bit from the novel, but stayed in touch with Donal and provided him with copies of drafts and whatnot. And once we began filming, we kept him up to speed as well. And he was fantastic. He loved it. I would say it certainly has the sentiment and most of the themes of the novel. But the plot diverges in the third act a little bit. And of course, with all the characters in the novel, we had to amalgamate some of the characters. We had to change a few things around. But I think that's natural enough. I've never adapted a novel before, but that seemed like the right way to go.
Sure, that's it. There's such different mediums as well. Like, I think once the heart of it is there, that's what you want to be kind of feeling it out. So tell me a little bit about the Cine 4 funding scheme. So it's the BI, Screen Ireland, and TG Carey, yeah. And it's you're not allowed outsource any funding. It's a kind of set piece funding. Is there much development within that? Did that account for a few of the drafts?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, to apply for it, they were only looking for a treatment, I think a 30-page treatment, which we put together, and they narrowed down the long list to a short list of 5 ideas or treatments, and then we were given something like 4 months to write a first draft, and they then subsequently chose 2 of the 5 for full production and all of that. So there was a bit of time and space there to go from the initial treatment to the first draft, and then of course there wasn't any particular pressure to hurry with the draft. So we spent a good year, I think, in the writing phase, bringing it up and doing the workshops and the rehearsals and all of that. So full of praise for TG for BA and for Screen Ireland. And they were fantastic in sport.
And would they have a say over it then? Would you have to kind of clear drafts with them once you're going through the process? Do they come in early enough?
They did come in early enough. They were given we were given notes, of course, yeah. And Dervni Curran from TG was acting as a kind of an exec producer role, and she was brilliant. She was giving us a lot of support and helping us and giving really helpful suggestions. It was fantastic. I mean, I'm a great believer in the organic process. I love giving the work out to people and getting their feedback and trying to consider whatever difficulties or problems or suggestions they might have and using that. And I just find that really, really helpful. And that probably accounts as well for that 15 drafts that we had to get through. So the approach suited that, I guess.
Okay, good. So you're not putting, like, I was like 3 different funders, and then I was like, are you going to email it out and get 3 different versions of notes that you're like trying to amalgamate, but actually one exec producer is a lot nicer to go with, just in case there's anything.
Yeah, she was like a corridor, a counsellor. She was great. And Celine from Screen Ireland as well. Celine from Screen Ireland as well, who was great and gave brilliant notes too.
So then tell me about your prep for the shoot. So when you're putting it together, do you were workshopping it a lot? Did you get many days as part of the production? Do you kind of block everything out ahead of time? Do you storyboard? Do you let it be more free in the moment? How do you work? What's your process?
Yeah, well, not having a huge amount of experience before that, a lot of it was trial by error, perhaps. But background as a cameraman myself, so I was reasonably confident about the visuals, say, and the editing and a lot of the technical side. What I really wanted to do was work with the actors and try and get great performances from them and help them achieve these great performances. So there was at least a month, I think, of rehearsals / workshops, mainly with the 3 leads, Cillian, Donal and Fionnuala. And we just broke down as many scenes as we could. Not every single scene, but certain pivotal scenes. And I always felt when making some of my shorts, you write a script and you write dialogue, and then you come to filming it. And normally you don't really have much time with the actors, and you hear your lines for the first time, really, as you're shooting. And I've always felt, I don't know, I could have phrased that better. And then I just thought, well, wouldn't it make more sense to kind of work this out with the actors in question and see how it sounds, see how it feels, see how they feel about it, and try different things. And ultimately, I think if the more you discuss the character, the more you know about the character, the more you know what their histories and their dramatic needs and whatnot, and giving some ownership to the actors, I think that just ultimately makes it more real. And I have to say that's what I found during this process. So if I get the opportunity again, I will definitely be looking to do even more. I have 25 drafts of the script.
They're magic. Sometimes they just bring something totally unexpected to it, and that's lovely to get that, like, another perspective as well in it. It's collaborative, and it becomes bigger than it ever intended to be, which is fabulous.
I can understand the other approach as well, whereby the writer-director might be very sure of what they want, and that's fine too. It's just not the way I'm built. I'm looking for an emotion or a magic moment, and I think the best way to achieve that is to live a little dangerously and allow a little bit of freedom. And even during filming, during the takes, we would film what we had scripted at that point, post rehearsals and workshops. But if we had the time, we would, allow the actors to ad-lib and to come up with some different notes and tunes.
Sure, they love that as well.
They loved it. They loved it.
Competitively emotional. So tell me a little bit about how, again, was there any, okay, so you moved from that and from your prep into the shoot. Was there any issues with COVID? When did the shoot actually happen?
The shoot happened November, December 2019, so just prior to COVID.
So
we were lucky in that sense.
Yeah.
But COVID did interrupt the editing. So COVID hit, I think, what was it, February, March. We were, I'd say, about 3/4 of the way through editing at that stage. But we had kept a few days back for further filming. So we actually filmed another 3 days in the summer of 2020. There was a little window where productions were allowed to go ahead in 2020, and we just jumped on that, and quite a number of scenes were improved, I think, and changed a little bit there. So
that's some scope to look back as well. It took that time to.
Yeah. Again, I guess it's the approach, the organic approach. It might sound like you don't know what you're after, but you kind of do know. You know what you're after when you see it, and you just have to search for it, I think. And in an ideal world, and no producer will ever allow me or anyone to do this, you'd film for 10 days, take a break, edit some stuff, come back. You do it in a linear fashion. But that's, of course, budget constraints don't allow us to do that. In an ideal world, I try to squeeze out of Paddy and the budget as much as we can in allowing this organic approach.
And actually, it is, so it's filmed in Conamara, and a lot of it is very site specific. Do you know, like like the land in itself is as much of a character as some of the other characters. How difficult was it to find those locations, or did you sort of have them in mind before you went into it?
I'm from the area, so I was almost my own location scout. We had a choice. We could have, Conamara's on the coast, of course, and there are loads of very pretty villages and locations that we could have shot in, and we looked at a few of those. But Paddy Hayes, the producer, made a great point. A lot of Irish films tend to be by the coast, and we thought it might be different and more interesting to go into the mountains and to have the John character as a sheep farmer rather than, dairy or cows or whatever, which you might have closer to the coast, say. So I think that was a good decision, because I think it looks kind of interesting, and the landscapes and the boglands and the stone kind of reflect the position the character finds himself in, I think. So I think it was a good fit.
Yeah, it was nice, and it was nice as well. You got how it impacted him and his relationship to it. It was nice. It did definitely kind of thematically feel right. So I just wanted to say as well, the edit. So you had talked about that editing process. With that break, so you had to take a little bit of a break. Did it change the way you looked at it? Because you'd gone from essentially filming it, then to doing an edit, 3/4 of the way through an edit, and a big break. Did that actually change the way that you saw anything, or did that impact any of it?
Yeah, I think it did, if I'm, in all honesty. I think we became braver, after having a bit of a break. And a lot of the challenge I found when editing was whether you're being too nuanced or whether you're being too direct with the story and the plot, and finding that right tempo and space to tell the story. So having lived with it for I think we had about a month of a break. Having lived with it during that period, I think we became a little more, experimental is probably the wrong phrase, but a little braver in some of the editing decisions and some of the structure. So I think that was great, and we were lucky in a sense that we were afforded that opportunity. And
the score as well plays a big part of that. Can you tell me a bit about the score and the sound mix?
Yeah, I can, of course. The composer is from Iceland. His name is Sindri Mar Sigfusson. I hope I'm saying that correctly. He's a bit of a a pop star in Iceland. He goes by Sin Fang.
And I'm thinking now about lamb, another sheep farming thing that just came out of that just came out of Iceland. There's a lot of linked themes there, so it probably resonated deeply with him as well.
It did. He actually said he because of COVID he couldn't come. His initial intention was to spend a couple of days in the house that that forms part of the story and kind of feel it, I guess. But he couldn't because of COVID. We were in the midst of it, the worst of it. So, but he obviously saw the visuals and that. He said, "This is Iceland as well. This is basically the same thing." he thought, and he had a brilliant sensibility.
And the themes of isolation and the rugged landscape, like it's all there. Like, so I'm sure, that he really, he
could totally get it. And Iceland is probably, in terms of scenery and what, it's probably Ireland dialed up to 11, I'd imagine. I haven't been there. But he was able to connect with it. And we liked the idea of just having, a different, someone from a different nationality, perhaps just adding a different layer. And I think that worked really, really well with Sindri. And he was a pleasure to work with. And all of the kind of incidental music, there's a lot of music on the radio and whatnot, are some of his, hits can be heard there. So they were really good and they're really cool and nice and fantastic. So he...
the dancey ones, like where they're, lads are enjoying themselves. I was like, oh, that's some hard tunes.
Yeah, there were some of his outtakes from a few of his albums, I think, and he donated those to the Foscadh cause. So
very believable, nice. as like party music, like just between these two lads. So I enjoyed that. And I just wanted to go again about what's your process like working with somebody, getting them in as a composer? Like, would he have read the script, come on board, said, I like this is my ideas? Do you work with him? Like especially when it's remote, would he send you files and go, how do you feel about this for this? And would you try editing, or would you just go, this is what I like, to him?
Well, we lay down a temp track and we used there's a Lynn Ramsey film called Used to Not Used to Live Here. I used to live here, is it? And Johnny Green was a composer anyway. So we kind of used a lot of temp from that film and added it down and used it as a very rough guide. But to be honest, what I find with all of the heads of department and the actors and everything was I just tried to best explain what I was after, and more so the emotions and the motivations of the story. And he would put some ideas together, and he had a load of stuff that he would send on, and he asked me to list them and see what I was connecting with. And I would, and files would be going back and forth across the Atlantic, I guess, and we'd be adding them on and fine-tuning really towards the end. And by the time the mix came, it just seemed to gel really, really nicely. Again, I think if I was afforded another 6 months, 6 years, or 60 years, I would probably be still tinkering. But it worked really, really well. And he was a brilliant collaborator, I'll say.
Should they always say that? The project is never completed. You just run out of money and abandon it. So that's the nature of the piece. Just so coming to the end of that edit, is there anything that if you had unlimited time and money and the producer was like, actually, I found another couple of grand there in the back pocket, is there any kind of darlings you had to kill to get it down for a time, or is there any changes that unlimited funds would have done to the story or the project?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. Yeah, at times I think in terms of sequences and shots frequently, when we didn't have time to finish certain stuff off and whatnot. I would have loved to have stayed with the John character for a slightly longer third act. That would have been interesting. I can't really say what happens because it might be a spoiler, but some interesting things happened to him in the third act, and it would have been nice to have another 5 to 10 minutes screen time, stay with him for it. So I know that's kind of a vague answer, but that would have been nice.
the sequel, like, him making
Well,
it in Paris, maybe starting a career in a magazine.
Yeah, that could happen.
But it's like Emily in Paris. I don't know what you're about. And then sort of when you get a cut, just out of curiosity with this scheme, when you get a cut, do you go, oh, I'm really happy here, I've locked it off, I'm going to send it to TG4, I'm going to get the feedback, and do you both have to kind of agree stuff? Is there still negotiations at that stage?
There weren't a huge amount of negotiations, I'd say. They were hands off in a healthy way. I think they gave fantastic notes, but I think we took on board the notes. So there was never any acrimonious arguments or anything like that. We all understood where it was going, and they seemed to like what they were seeing. And once notes came in, we would interrogate the notes, we would discuss them, we would see were they possible. When they were possible, we'd certainly try them, have a look at them. If we felt it wasn't working, or if it wasn't possible to do the footage we had, for example, I'd put together some detailed notes about that, and it worked like a charm, to be honest. It was a great partnership. I don't know if I'm lucky, or if I was to give afforded this opportunity again, would I have it as easy? But I feel as long as everyone respects everyone's role and genuinely takes on board the notes, theoretically it should improve the film, and we all want that, don't we?
And as well, it premiered in Galway. That was its premiere, wasn't it, in the Foscadh this year? I'm just wondering, is it nice to get to premiere it in its home county? Did you get much feedback or anything like that from the locals?
Yeah, it's a real safe space for me, to play it at the Foscadh, and
Mommy and Granny will be like,
yeah,
Auntie Susan.
Well, it's probably more difficult to show my elderly parents, I think, and aunts and uncles to see, and if you know the film, you know why. In fact, we were mixing the film in Dublin, and the sound mixer said to me, he just stopped and he just turned to me and said, "Have you shown your mom this film yet?" That was his, but she had read the script, so I think she knew what was coming. It was a brilliant safe space in Galway, I would say, and everyone was on board. And it is a very Galway film. A lot of the cast are from Galway, directors from Galway. Paddy Hayes is basically Galway region at this stage. So yeah, it was lovely, and of course we could bring in a nice large crowd as well in to see it. We were still kind of sorted in COVID, so it was screened outside, which was not a different experience actually. You had to wear headphones and that. And Donal Ryan came and he was delighted with it, and I wouldn't change it for the world, to be honest. It might have been nice to have played in Berlin or Cannes or something like that, but I think Galway was a pretty special.
And it'll definitely be memorable of its time, like watching a film outside. Like that's kind of the only year that is. I wonder if they'll keep it on if the weather's nice, maybe. But it's
Galway rarely gets nice weather, so we're just really lucky.
Yeah, I lived there for a year, and I don't think I straightened my hair once because I was like, "What's the point?
No point."
My car rusted when I was down there. So it was just it was a very powerful film, and again very, very poignant. Did anyone reach out after its festival screening and go, "This meant a lot," or have you gotten any feedback from viewers yet? I know the release is Friday the 11th.
Yeah, Friday the 11th. Yeah. Different people react differently to it. Of course, I react differently to it each time I see it myself. The main feedback is that it's a very emotional film, challenging. Actually,
there was a lot of tension there where I found myself going, "Oh," a few times.
That's good. I think. I suppose if you're moved in any way, it's a good thing. Most people ask me, is John, on some form of spectrum, or is he neurodiverse, or what? And I often have to feel that question, and I often say, well, he's a product of his environment, I think, more so than anything. And finding that space took some time, hence the rehearsals and all of that. A lot of people have cried. I got an email from a colleague at the university today, and he said he was crying at the end. It resonates with women and men, I feel. I guess you could argue that it's kind of a rural film, so it's interesting to compare city audiences with rural audiences. I showed it last week to 3 different audiences in Conamara, and they responded really well to the film. They would have seen a lot in terms of language. They would have seen a lot of the nuances and a lot of the jokes and whatnot. So I suppose there's been a wide variety of reactions. I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't like it or are too nice to say anything, but
those people aren't too nice. When people don't like things, they have no problem telling you. Don't worry.
All right, okay. Well,
on Twitter.
So. Nothing too negative so far. And I hope the reviews are reasonable as well.
I'm sure it will be, because again, like it kind of packs a punch. I think the themes of isolation as well are very timely, considering we're coming at the tail end and again about the impact of that isolation and how much it has taken from somebody as well is kind of scarily on point for a project that started so long ago and was shot.
Yeah, well, there you go. I guess that's the way it turned out. But I often tell people, I know a lot of people like John, just who don't have the social skills to put themselves out there. And my goodness, it must be a terrible existence, being stuck in a house on a farm that is actually worth quite a lot of money, but money doesn't buy happiness, does it?
No, but for the price of a cinema ticket, you can certainly buy entertainment. So it's available in cinemas on the 11th of March. Perfect. Thank you so much for chatting with us. It was a gorgeous film.
Thank you so much. That was really enjoyable. Thank you.